Yes, loud and clear. Welcome
Ah,
back,
okay.
Prabhu.
Thank you.
You were
Just
out for
internet.
some time.
Yeah, internet
Yeah,
issue. Is the internet is not reaching my place, so I have to
yeah.
come to where the internet. Oh my
I can
God,
see Manjari there.
Kaya Shakshuru Militanyena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Mano Vistam Stapitanyena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yukta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha. Shri Rupa Sagrajata Sagana Ragunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam. Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padasagana Lalita Shri Vishaka Vitamscha. Hare Krishna. Okay, so let's start. No need to waste much time. So where we stopped yesterday in 341, very interesting. Uh, can you see? I'm sharing my screen.
Not yet, Prabhu. It's not showing yet.
Abracadabra. Now appear.
There.
Is it? Yeah. I just use my mystic power to make it appear. Okay, so let's start. Tasma Twamindriyani Ado Niyam Ya Bharatarshaba Papmanam Brajayenam Gyana Vigyana Nashanam. So we read this yesterday, but we didn't discuss so much about it. So we're going to talk about it extensively today. So here Krishna is saying, therefore, O Arjuna, best of the Bharatas, in the very beginning, curb this great symbol of sin, lust, by regulating the senses and slay the destroyer of knowledge and self-realization. Okay, so let's read the purport, then we can discuss. Somebody want to read?
Yes,
Fast
Prabhu.
to read. Yes, please go ahead, Prabhu.
The Lord advised Arjuna to regulate the senses from the very beginning so that he could curb the greatest sinful enemy, lust, which destroys the urge for self-realization and specific knowledge of the self. Jhana refers to knowledge of self as distinguished from non-self, or in other words, knowledge that the spirit soul is not the body. Jhana refers to specific knowledge of the spirit soul's constitutional position and its relationship to the supreme soul. It is explained thus in the Srimad Bhagavatam, second canto, chapter 9, text 31, Jhanam paramaguyam me yad vidyana samanvitam sarahasyam tad angam sha grihana gaditam maya. The knowledge of the self and the supreme self is very confidential and mysterious, but such knowledge and specific realization can be understood if explained with their various aspects by the Lord Himself. Bhagavad Gita gives us that general and specific knowledge of the self. The living entities are parts and parcels of the Lord, and therefore they are simply meant to serve the Lord. This consciousness is called Krishna consciousness. So, for the very beginning of life, one has to learn this Krishna consciousness, and thereby one may become fully Krishna conscious and act accordingly. Thus is only the perverted reflection of the love of God, which is natural for every living entity. But if one is educated in Krishna consciousness from the very beginning, the natural love of God cannot deteriorate into lust. When love of God deteriorates into lust, it is very difficult to return to the normal condition. Nonetheless, Krishna consciousness is so powerful that even a late beginner can become a lover of God by following the regulative principles of devotion and service. So, from any stage of life or from the time of understanding its urgency, one can begin regulating the senses in Krishna consciousness, devotion and service of the Lord, and turn the lust into love of Godhead, the highest perfectional stage of human life. Hare Krishna.
Very much, Prabhu. So yeah, Krishna is properly in the purport also emphasized uh, the importance of regulating the senses, because only by controlling the senses, then we can stop the loss from going to, because Krishna already given the strategic position of the loss: senses, mind, and intelligence, not the soul. Okay, so the senses, the mind, and intelligence. So everything starts from the senses. If we're able to regulate the senses, control the senses, then it's easy for us to control lust. Because, for example, Srila Vishwanatha Chakravarti gave an example. Okay, so if you see a beauty and you control your eyes by not looking at it, then you don't think about it. Only when you start looking at it and looking, then you start contemplating, then you start thinking about how to get it, then you start thinking of how to gratify your senses, like that. So by regulating this, controlling the senses, one can curb lust. That is the beginning. One should not allow it to go into contemplation. Then you start using your intelligence to make arrangement on how to get it. One should stop it at the level of the senses. That is what Krishna is giving us. Because unless we stop it, this loss is a Maha Varina or Mahapapma. It's the greatest sin and is the enemy of self-realization. Okay, so it's very, very important. And all of us, to some different degrees, we have to work on this. Although we all have to different degrees. Okay, so some are very light, like yesterday, Krishna gave a very nice example. Some are like the smoke on fire, some are like the dust on the mirror, some are like the embryo in the womb. So, but all in all, we have to learn to control our lusts. Lust doesn't really mean alone sex. It means desire, generally, desire. So what you are lustful for may be different from what the other person is lustful for. What is your lust may be different from another person. Some people, their lust is cars. They love cars. Any other thing doesn't move them. They just love to see fancy cars, you know. When they see fancy cars, they become crazy. Some people, their loss is watches, eh? You know, they don't care how much it costs. They can buy wristwatch worth millions and millions of dollars, you know. They don't care. So their loss is wristwatch. And some other is fashion designers and different degrees. Some people is sex, some people is phones. They want to get the highest phone. So like that. So everybody have got different lust. So, but the only way to control this is to control the senses right from the beginning. Some people their own is food. They love to eat that kind of food. They don't care where the food is coming from. That's why I see some people they love pizza. You know, if they have not eaten pizza, it's that they are dying. You know, and like that, different levels, different degrees. So that is why Prabhupada mentioned in the purport, only when we learn to engage our senses in Krishna consciousness, then we can truly control the lust. So the Vishwanatha Chakravarti explained also in his purport commentary to the Bhagavad Gita that everything begins with controlling of the senses. If we're able to control the senses, then it will be easier for us. And he further explains that controlling the senses is like controlling a water, like a dam. When you control a water, pool of water, make a dam. But after some time, the water may overflow and break the dam, then a flood will happen. So when we are only controlling our senses and not engaging our senses, it's like that. But Krishna gave a very nice solution in the chapter 2, 59. Param distu and nirvatate. We have to develop higher taste. Until the higher taste is developed, then it's very difficult to control the senses. Okay, so it's very, very important. Krishna mentioned here that one should curb this great symbol of sin by regulating the senses. Very, very important. So regulation of the senses is the first solution to controlling lust. That is why you see a brahmachari, when he's moving in the streets, the more you look, the more your mind will become disturbed. So the less you look, the best for you. And every other one also, every other person also. Just using a brahmachari as an example. Because the more you look, the more you feed your eyes, the more your mind starts thinking about those things. So the less you look, the less your mind becomes disturbed. So that is why everything starts from the senses. Eating also. When you eat only Krishna Prasad, then your tongue will become controlled. Then you don't overeat. Then you don't have desire for gratifying your genitals like that. So, but if we cannot control the tongue, control the belly, then there will be only problem. So that is why it is recommended that we have to engage our senses in Krishna consciousness. Means we have to strictly follow this principle of engaging the senses in service of Krishna. Very, very important. Without engaging the senses in the service of Krishna, it's practically almost, we cannot, almost uncontrollable. The senses are almost uncontrollable if we don't engage them in Krishna service. Very, very important. So that is why devotional service is the simplest form of controlling the senses. Why the yogis in the Himalayas, they are making strenuous efforts to control the senses. Immediately they come out to the society, the senses start worrying them. But for a devotee, because the senses are engaged in devotional service, then naturally the senses become controlled. That is what Krishna is telling Arjuna here. Any comment, contribution? I read from Surrender Unto Me. Among the senses, mind and intelligence, the sense are the grossest. Being gross, they are easiest to control. Krishna therefore recommends that we begin to bring loss under control by regulating the senses. This is automatically done through the Vaidhi Bhakti process. So while controlling our senses, however, we should not neglect our intelligence. Intelligence, like a guard, is the next door neighbor of the super soul. So his business is to protect us from Maya. If the guard has been corrupted by loss, however, the situation is as dangerous as when a bodyguard is bribed by the enemy. Thus, the materially contaminated intelligence, which works in the service of our enemy, should be neglected. We should instead accept the intelligence of Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. Means that if our intelligence already corrupted, if our intelligence already collected bribe from lost, then we are in trouble because we will not be able to make proper discrimination. So that is when we have to rely on the scriptures, Sadhu and Guru. Okay. So let's read the next verse. If there's no any question regarding that. (42) Indriyani parani aur, indriya biya param mana, manasastu param bude, yo bude paratu saha. So Krishna here is reaffirming that everything has to start from controlling the senses. Then we move higher. So he said the working senses are superior to dull matter. Mind is higher than the senses. Intelligence is still higher than the mind. And the soul is even higher than the intelligence. Okay? So we'll talk more about this. Let's read Prabhupada's purpose first.
Okay, Prabhu. The senses are different outlets for the activities of lust. Lust is reserved within the body, but it is given vent through the senses. Therefore, the senses are superior to the body as a whole. These outlets are not in use when there is superior consciousness or Krishna consciousness. In Krishna consciousness, the soul makes direct connection with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, the hierarchy of bodily functions, as described here, ultimately ends in the Supreme Soul. Bodily action means the function of the senses, and stopping the senses means stopping all bodily actions. But since the mind is active, then even though the body may be silent and at rest, the mind will act as it does during dreaming. But above the mind is the determination of the intelligence, and above the intelligence is the soul proper. If, therefore, the soul is directly engaged with the Supreme, naturally all other subordinates, namely the intelligence, mind, and senses, will be automatically engaged. In the Katha Upanishads, there is a similar passage in which it is said that the objects of sense gratification are superior to the senses, and mind is superior to the sense objects. If, therefore, the mind directly engaged in the service of the Lord constantly, then there is no chance that the senses will become engaged in other ways. This mental attitude has already been explained. Param dristva nirvatate. If the mind is engaged in the transcendental service of the Lord, there is no chance of its being engaged in the lower propensities. In the Katha Upanishads, the soul has been described as Mahan, the great. Therefore, the soul is above all, namely, the sense objects, the senses, the mind, and the intelligence. Therefore, directly understanding the constitutional position of the soul is the solution of the whole problem. When intelligence, one has to seek out the constitutional position of the soul and then engage the mind always in Krishna consciousness. That solves the whole problem. A neophyte spiritualist is generally advised to keep aloof from the objects of the senses. But aside from that, one has to strengthen the mind by use of intelligence. If by intelligence one engaged one's mind in Krishna consciousness by complete surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then automatically the mind becomes stronger. And even though the senses are very strong like serpents, they will be no more effective than serpents with broken fangs. But even though the soul is the master of intelligence in mind, and the senses also, still, unless it is strengthened by association with Krishna and Krishna consciousness, there is every chance of falling down due to agitated mind. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much. The last one, he says, but even though the soul is master of intelligence and mind and the senses also, see, unless it is strengthened by association with Krishna in Krishna consciousness, there's every chance of falling down due to agitation of the mind, agitated mind. So this is very, very important. And there's another point Prabhupada made in the purport. He say, in which it is said that the object of sense gratification are superior to the senses. Let's talk about this. Here it says, Krishna says, the senses is higher than the dull matter. Means our senses, the eyes, the tongue, the nose, the ears, the skin, is higher than the dull matter itself. Higher than the dull matter, the senses is the mind. Higher than the mind is intelligence. Higher than the intelligence is the soul. But here, Prabhupada in the purport also mentioned that the object of the senses is higher than the senses. That is where the main problem comes from, actually. You know the object of the senses? Can somebody remind us of the 5 objects of the senses?
Was it touch, sight,
Yes.
hearing, smelling,
Yeah.
taste?
Yes. Yeah, that is it. You see, these activities are the object, they call it the object of the senses. is higher than the senses. Because why? The desire to touch is so strong that overpower your mind. Then you cannot even discriminate. You know? Same thing also with taste. Oh, you see somebody is suffering from diabetes. But see, he cannot stop eating sugar. Immediately he sees sugar, the taste is so strong that it's pulling. He wants to go and take. And that is why it is mentioned here, engaging the mind in Krishna consciousness is the only way to help to strengthen the intelligence. Because unless the intelligence is strengthened, then there's nothing we can do. So that is why we have to strengthen our intelligence in Krishna consciousness. How do we do that? By studying the scripture. In the beginning, it may be weak. Again, you fall down. You fall down. You try again, you fall down. Just don't give up. Many mistakes we make at times is that whenever we fall, we remain there. We don't stand up. Okay, oh, I'm falling already. Let me just stay here. There's nothing I can do. No. You fall, you stand up, you try again. You fall, you stand up, you try again. You fall, you stand up, you try again. Continue to try until you become strong. Don't give up. That is the only way to win this war. Okay. If you give up, oh, I'm not strong. Let me just follow my senses. After all, I'm not strong. Oh, let me just gratify it. Then you are already in trouble. You will not make progress again. You will just get stuck there. Again and again, when you find yourself doing what you don't like to do, feel bad about it. Tell yourself you are going to try again next time. You keep on trying, study the scripture, try to engage in devotional service as much as you can, chant more rounds, continue to strengthen yourself in like this until one day, then you feel the strength to be able to overcome this. But many devotees, they don't get up to this level, Once they fall, oh, no, I cannot do it. Oh, and they just surrender to it, finish. And before you know, they remain on that level for many, many years of their devotional life. So please don't give up. Keep on trying. Continue to strengthen yourself by this weapon of knowledge you are acquiring by studying Srimad Bhagavad Gita, study Srimad Bhagavatam, continue to acquire knowledge. In that way, continue to strengthen yourself. Then one day, you can feel the strength to overcome. Then you see towards the last statement proper mentioned in the purport, it says, but even though the soul is the master of intelligence and mind, because Krishna mentioned here that higher than the senses is the mind, higher than the mind is intelligence, higher than the intelligence is the soul. So the soul is the topmost. So when the soul is engaged in devotional service, it's easier for us to overcome this lust. But Prabhupada mentioned here, even if the soul is the master of the intelligence and the mind, the senses also still, unless it's strengthened by association with Krishna, in Krishna consciousness, there's every chance of falling down due to agitated mind. So it means that even in chapter 2, we find the verse where Krishna says that any one of the senses that the mind focuses on can carry away man's intelligence. So these senses are very strong, but we cannot give up. We have to continue. That is the war is again lost because it's our greatest enemy in this world. Until we are able to defeat this enemy, we cannot give up. And there's no option for us to give up. We just have to continue. Study the scripture, become strong, because the more you study the scripture, the more you become strong. You come to the mode of goodness. Then you can feel the strength to be able to overcome this lust. Okay, so that is the point. Let's see what is there in Surrender Unto Me. So Srila Prabhupada writes, with intelligent one has to seek out the constitutional position of the soul and then engage the mind always in Krishna consciousness. That solves this whole problem. A neophyte spiritualist is generally advised to be aloof from the object of the senses. But aside from that, one has to strengthen the mind by use of the intelligence. If the intelligence is once engaged in the mind and Krishna consciousness by complete surrender to the Supreme Personality of God, then automatically the mind becomes. So in our neophyte stage, just like all of us, we are neophytes. Don't think that you have become strong. Generally, the problem we get is that we think that we have become very strong. Then we go and challenge Maya. Then we fall into trouble, you know? We are not Haridas Thakur, and we have not reached that level, and we have not come close to that level. So don't go and try to face Maya, okay? So the instruction for neophytes like us is to avoid, you know, as mentioned here, says to avoid contacting the object of the senses. Keep aloof from the object of the senses. It means, as a neophyte, if you say you don't want to eat rasagula, don't keep rasagula inside your room. Okay? Because you'll be tempted to eat it at night. Okay? So if you say you don't want to eat rasagula, don't collect it, say, okay, I'm going to give, okay, oh, they are serving rasagula. And you already say you are not going to read rasagula. Don't collect it. Don't say, no, I will keep it for one devotee, or I will keep. It's not true. Don't collect it. Just leave it. Let it go. Don't bring the sense, senses in the contact with the object of the senses. You say you are not going to eat rasagula, let rasagula go. Don't bring rasagula close to you. Okay, you are not strong to that level that you can allow it to go. Like that. So this is very, very important. Like when we hear the story of Haridas Thakur, how Maya herself or prostitute came to test him, then sometimes we think that we're on that level. No. Prabhupada is giving us advice here. As a neophyte, we should not bring ourselves, we should be aloof from the object of the senses. That is why brahmachari is advised not to laugh with a woman, not to come close to a woman, not even to play with a woman jokingly, not to smile with a woman. There's so many rules and regulations given to brahmachari. So in that way, if a brahmachari try to follow these rules and regulations, then you are at least protecting yourself. Then there will not be any chance for you to come in contact with the object of the senses. So that is very, very important for us to take note of based on the purport. Any question or comments regarding this discussion? Or realization or some experience you want to share with us?
I want to share something, Prabhu, with regards to the regulating, I mean, with what you have mentioned earlier, that when
Yes,
we,
please go ahead.
how the senses are strong, when we touch something or we sometimes contemplate things. Because last night, I think I slept a little late. I was watching some videos with regards to cameras, because I'm into cameras right now.
Yeah, I know.
Video
We can
cameras.
see it. We can see it.
What happened? Because that's the last thing that I watched. I dreamt of me holding the camera that I'm watching, and it was so real. I feel like I feel like it was real. I want it to be real, actually. So you can see how powerful the mind is. You can play
Yeah,
with tricks like this with us. And
yeah.
then what I learned from that, what my realization from that is, what you have mentioned earlier is really true. If we engage our senses into like I should have watched kirtans or any other devotional videos. So instead of me dreaming cameras, I should have watched something else, which is Krishna conscious. I should have dreamt of Krishna. Hare
See,
Krishna.
you say, let me tell you one thing, Prabhu. It's a very nice realization you are sharing with us. But the truth that is there is that even if you watch about Krishna when you're about to sleep or you read about Krishna, there's no assurance that you will dream of Krishna. You know why? The reason is that because you have passion for camera. So even when you are watching about camera, not just you are watching the camera, your passion is inside the camera. This camera, Yeah. So that is why you dream of it. Because you become so much absorbed in it. See, what we dream about is what we become absorbed in during the day. So even when we listen to Krishna or we watch Krishna movie, there's no assurance that we become so absorbed in it, like, oh, Krishna, 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 No, there's no assurance for that. But it's easier for us to become absorbed in things we can relate with, especially the material activities around us. It's easy for us to become absorbed in it because we can relate with that. But for Krishna, we are still trying to convince our mind that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So it will take long time of practice for us to start dreaming of Krishna. Actually, when we all come to the Krishna consciousness first, many of the devotees, it was easier for them to dream of Krishna. Because at that time, your mind was so much about Krishna. Then when you come in contact with Krishna, you take it so lightly. Oh, Krishna, devotees. So everything becomes you take everything so easy. So your absorption is less. So we can only dream of something that will become absorbing, actually. So that I'm just trying to support your point that, yes, you dream of camera because your absorption was on black camera. So it was easier for you to grab it inside your dream.
I did actually slept good. I did actually slept good because I think I only dream if I sleep very well, and I think I somehow woke up late. Yeah, I did. I woke up late.
You see?
Probably I was really tired.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like that. So it's okay. To dream of camera is not bad. At least you want to use it for Krishna service. So it's all right. Tomorrow you dream of Krishna. Don't worry, Prabhu. Yes. Okay. So any other point? Thank you very much for sharing that. Let us share practical experience of when you try to control the senses and it fails. Let's share some experience, practical experience. Let me share my own experience. Okay. I remember a long time ago, that time I was still a brahmachari. So I went to Jagannath Puri. So when I was in Jagannath Puri, I was in front of Lord Jagannath. And I was praying to Jagannath. I said, Lord Jagannath, please. No, not because before I started praying, because I don't have devotion to pray. So I cannot pray like that. But I was standing beside somebody, one devotee from Orisha there, somewhere. He was looking at Jagannath and the Ratha Yatra because when I was in India, I spent like almost 3.5 years or 4 years in India. But every year I visited Jagannath Puri. So when I saw this devotee was standing in front of Jagannath, he was crying. Oh, Jagannath. So he was crying. So I was a brahmachari that time. So when I saw him crying, when you see somebody crying, you naturally become moved also. I don't know how it happened, but it's always contagious when you see somebody crying, especially when your heart is not so hard. So when I saw him crying, I became moved also. Like, Oh, you can cry for Krishna. Well, I cannot cry. Then I started crying for Krishna also. Just by saying crying, I started crying also. I started praying. So I was praying. I said, at that time I was thinking I'm a pure devotee, you know. I was thinking my leg was not touching the ground, you know. Until I made that prayer, then I realized that I was nowhere. You know, it's like I was in front of the Jagannath. You know, like a brahmachari who was, because that time when I was a brahmachari, I was so strict. I don't look at women's faces, you know. I don't know, in my country that time, the women, they hate me, you know, because I don't look at their faces, you know. I'm very strict. It's like, oh, they always like hate me. This so-called this brahmachari. Let's see how long it will be. Come on, get out of here. You know, like that. It was always like that. I was very strict. So, but that day I was in front of Jagannath, and I say, Lord Jagannath, please, my Lord, I was crying. Please, my Lord, whatever I need, I want to become a pure devotee. You know, I need your mercy. I want to become a pure devotee. Whatever I need to become a pure devotee, please give it to me. Oh, but they're gonna say, you want to become a pure devotee? Okay, very good. Let's see. Then you know what happened after that? Oh, Krishna. After I left that Ratha Yatra, loss, uncontrollable loss came to me. I've not experienced such loss before. I've not seen it before. I was not thinking of it before that prayer. After I made that prayer, then you're gonna say, okay, you really want to become pure devotee? Are you sure? Okay, see what is there in your heart that I'm not letting it to affect you. Boom! Prabhuji, Mataji, after that time, it was like fighting with wind, trying to control wind, my senses. You know, any things I see about women will trigger me. Krishna, Krishna, please help me. You know, that's how I started struggling with my senses. Then I have to make up my mind to get married. Okay? So just from ordinary praying, my Lord, please give me your pure devotional service. Then the Lord said, okay, see, you have so much loss inside you. If you really want to become pure, you have to get them out. Okay. So how are you going to manage that? I don't know, but this is it. Just see it. Boom. And that was it. So since then, I've been managing my loss, like I was said. You see? Then I got married, then managing it and like that. Okay. So now it's becoming less and less because we are getting so much realization about it so that you can never satisfy it. The more you try to satisfy it, the more it burns I. And there is no way you can satisfy it. So best is to give it up. So we are trying our best to give it up now. So that is my own experience with this. And it was a very serious one, actually. And I know that one of the reason why I'm sent to Philippines is for the final tests. And I'm very sure by staying in Philippines, I will become so pure, then I will go back to my first time again. Then I will be levitating again, and my leg will not be touching the ground. Just joking. But from joke, I'm saying the real thing, okay? So because whenever I find myself in a place, I always ask Krishna, why did you send me to this place? Okay. So I know Krishna has sent me to Philippines for the final test of getting over this loss, and which will be done, okay? So like that, so we are work in progress, okay? So that is my own experience. Anybody want to share something? No, I've shared my own. Somebody have to share. Are you telling me you don't have any experience?
I had one experience like that, Prabhu. Where
Please tell me.
I was traveling Sankirtan, and one day I was chanting my rounds, and the whole time I was thinking of sex for the whole 16 rounds.
Wow.
Yeah, I was
It
thinking of
happens.
sex.
It happens. Yeah.
I was having images, you know, everything. It was all, I was just struggling like anything. I was like, what's going on?
Yeah, it happens. Yeah, you're right.
I only actually happened once. I
Hmm.
swear to God, it only happened once, but it was very strong. I was like, what,
Hmm.
Krishna, what is going on? What are you doing to me?
Krishna is testing you.
Uh,
Yeah. Yeah. Once you are able to tolerate and pass that test, then you become stronger. You become stronger. So because if you look very deeply on that, why that particular become very strong, it may be because of something around you that there's a contemplation on it. Then you spark the desire. And once the desire is sparken, then it takes you a lot of energy to get it over. So that is why Krishna is saying that we have to really work on controlling the senses. Yeah, Shari Mata, you want to share her own? She's very, very anxious. Please tell us.
No, I can relate to what you said. I remember I was praying to Radha Madhav to make me very humble. And then boom, straight, there's so many like people he throw at me, so I will learn to tolerate. They say bad things about me, and I was like, oh my God, I have to be very careful when I pray because they will really have to give it to you. So he really gonna humble you. So sometimes actually, and then sometimes you want to react, because your ego is so touched. But then it's a good thing, it's a test for you. So yeah, when we really pray sincerely, like we want to like be humble, or we want to be like develop humility, the Lord is really gonna send us people to practice that. So I just kind of relate with what you said, that you were when you were praying to Lord Jagannath, because it did happen to me as well when I did pray for that. So Hare Krishna.
So be careful of what you pray for. You may get it. As long as you are chanting Hare Krishna mantra, you have to be careful of what you pray for. You may get it. Just be careful. As a devotee, if you are chanting Hare Krishna every day, be careful of what you pray for. So thank you very much, Chaitanya Chandra Prabhu, for sharing that sincere, realization. Yeah, because as long as we're in this body, there's always desire for sense gratification. That is why Krishna mentioned in the chapter 2, verse 70, what makes you a transcendentalist is not because you are free from that desire. What makes you a transcendentalist is because there's no urge for you to fulfill that desire. That's what makes you a transcendentalist. It's not that because there's no desire or because, the desire is not there. No. Desire may be there. Are you making effort to fulfill that desire? Then you are a Maya. If you are not making effort to fulfill that desire, then you are liberated. That is the difference between a Sayansi and a Grihasta. It's not that the desire is no more there as in a Sayansi. No. As long as you are in the material body, the desire will be there. A Sayansi also, the experiences urge. I'm telling you, whether you like it or not, it's there because it's the body. It's the demand of the body. But what makes them to be different from the Grihasta, somebody who has decided to marry, is because they don't have any urge to fulfill such desire. They don't want to fulfill it. They have realized the scripture that says the urge or the desire is like a scratching inches when you have inches on your body. When you scratch, the more you scratch it, you feel like you sweet, but actually you are creating more wound for yourself. But when you leave it, even though the urge to scratch is there, but you allow it, after some time, the urge to scratch will go away. So once we understand this principle, it will be very easy for us to control our sense urge or to control our senses. It's very simple. That is a principle. It's not that desire is not there. No matter who you are, whether you are a Sayansi or you're a brahmachari or whoever, no matter whatever level you are, the desire, as long as you have material body, the desire will always be there. But the difference is that the pure souls, they have no urge to fulfill that desire. That is why Yamunacharya says, in purport of, Bhagavad gave this purport in chapter 2. Yamunacharya said, whenever I thought of sexual desire with a woman, why will a pure devotee as such as Yamunacharya is talking about this? He said, whenever I thought of a sexual desire with a woman, my tongue turned pale in disgust to that thought. It means that the thinking is always still there. That's why he's saying like that. Even as a pure devotee, he said, whenever I think about it, then I feel the taste. That is the difference between a pure devotee and a conditioned soul. A pure devotee, even though the thinking comes, desire comes sometimes, but the way they react to it is different from a conditioned soul. Immediately the desire comes to a conditioned soul, he starts making plans on how to fulfill them. That is the difference. Any question, comments, or contribution? Or question? Because we have only just 2 minutes more.
I mean, so how do we the urges come to gratify our senses, and it's quite strong, a strong urge. So you're saying the transcendentalists, they don't fulfill that urge.
Yeah.
So how does the neophyte control his urge or control his senses?
Very good. That is a very nice question, actually. I was only talking about the advanced. You have to remind me that we have to come to our level. Yeah, you are right. Yeah, for the neophyte, like Prabhupada gave a very nice solution in the purport. We should avoid contact. We should be aloof with this object of the senses.
Yeah.
We should be aloof. We should try as much as possible to avoid the object of the senses. Let me give an example. Okay, the desire comes in me. Boom. Oh, today the desire become very strong today. Oh. So what I should be thinking of today means that today I'm not going out. Tomorrow I will just lock myself. I will not open my phone. I will just chant. I will just read. Anything that will like put fuel in that desire. I don't want to have contact with that. Phones, today, no. Going out, no. Let me just chant and read about Krishna and read so that there will not be anything, because the desire is like that. Today it comes up. If you don't make any desire for it, it will naturally go away by itself like that. When you strengthen your spiritual activities. And also, it's very important for us that we should learn how to take shelter in Krishna whenever such desire comes in our heart. Means that when desire comes like that, instead of us thinking of them or try to satisfy them, we should think, let me chant more and really get strength from Krishna. So when we develop that kind of intense desire to take shelter of Krishna and pray to Krishna, then Krishna will help us. Like Prabhupada said, one day Prabhupada was telling the devotees, he said, I'm not going to fall into Maya. And the devotees was like, oh, Prabhupada said like this. Oh. Then the following day, they saw Prabhupada. He was in front of the deity and he was crying. He was praying to Krishna. And when they enter the room, they ask Prabhupada, Prabhupada, what were you crying? What are you saying when you are crying to Krishna? So that's why I will never fall to Maya, because I'm always praying to Krishna to protect me. So we should learn that taking shelter of Krishna also. When such desire comes or becomes strong in us, we should pray to Krishna and take shelter of chanting of the only name of Krishna, hear about Krishna. Sometimes we talk about all these things philosophically, but practical aspect also is not very easy. But we have to continue to practically apply it until we get it right, because there is no other way. I remember when I was in my country. Oh, time already passed, so I cannot continue. I'm sorry. To be continued tomorrow. Stay tuned for tomorrow. Okay.
Jai.
So, Chaitanya Chandra Prabhu, I see you are not feeling strong. Please take good care of yourself.
Yeah, I've fallen sick.
Take
Yeah, even
salabat.
this morning also. This morning I was not strong this morning. Have you you take some antibiotic?
No.
I know you will say no. I know. That's why. Yeah.
Ginger with honey.
See. You know, I know you people will always talk about this. You know, yeah, it's true. See, one thing about me is that I'm not a fanatic. Okay. I try as much as possible to be practical. Okay. See, when you are not feeling fine, it's okay. You want to be naturopathic, it's okay. But sometimes, because we don't have a strong immune system, it takes longer time for our body to fight those things we are fighting in our body. So I'm just giving myself as why I'm bouncing now, I'm speaking very sharp now, because when I saw that my situation in the morning, I took antibiotic. I don't take every time. So my body needed it. I took 1, 2, boom, my body is back. I feel it. And I don't need to take it again. It's gone. Sometimes
I want to add, Prabhu, sorry. I want to add, Prabhu Mahendra, I think he also does like this. He always teaches, or he always tells us that when you're sick, you should not take anything. I think this is what he's still doing. He fasts when he's sick. So he lets the what you call this, the bad virus to die. Let it
Yes.
die.
yeah, it's okay. That's what I'm saying. It's okay to do all these things. Okay? So you just have to know that if your faith is up to that level, then your body will really fight for it. But if you are not on that level, your body will be stopping you from doing so many activities you are supposed to be doing. And instead of you to get back fast, it takes longer time for the body to get back. So we just have to apply our intelligence in Krishna consciousness. So if your body needs for you to take some antibiotic to get very quick, fast, look for it and take it and get back to good health very fast and continue your book distribution in Krishna consciousness.
Yeah.
But I'm not telling you to go against the principle of naturopathic. I'm just saying, if your body needs some antibiotics, sometimes you can give it to it, okay?
Yeah.
Because some people, they take it like food. Then it becomes a problem. When you take it like a food, it becomes problem. But when you don't take it every time, you take it maybe once in a year or twice in a year, it cannot really affect you. But some people, they cannot do without taking it every week. That is the problem. This is my own understanding. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, Prabhu.
Jai. Hare Krishna. Pancha Kapatarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhubhyevacha, Patitanam Pavarevyo, Vaishnavevyo, Namo Namaha. See you tomorrow. Hare
And before we
Krishna.
leave, Prabhu, I'm just gonna take
Thank you,
one quick
everyone.
photo.
Hare Krishna.
Okay,
Everyone
one
can
photo again.
smile.
Okay. Hare
Yes.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Jai.
Haribo. Thank you.
It's
Thank
always
you,
very
everyone.
wonderful to have a cameraman in your group. Haribo.
Thank you, everyone.
Jai,
Thank
thank
you,
you,
Mom. Thank you,
bro.
Kuya
Hare
Kabi.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Chandra
Chill,
Prabhu.
Ginger.
Take
So
care.
you guys get well
Hare
soon.
Krishna.
Bye bye.
Get well
Thank you.
soon.
Bye. See you.
Haribo.